Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today, we're going to be talking about Boosh, The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. So, dear lovely Evie sent me this book, and then when the book club in the Discord, Alan's Discord, was, they chose this book for the March book of the month, she knew that I was having a hard time getting through with it. So she also sent me the audiobook. So I kind of combo read this one. I did some where I actually read the text and some where I listened to the audiobook and just kind of ping-ponged back and forth. And I will say it was wildly outside of my comfort zone as far as genres go. So I'm interested to talk with you guys about it today and maybe hear from any of you who have read it what your experiences were.
Let's get down to business.
So I'm going to start completely spoiler free, or at least I'm going to do my best. Let me know if I've accidentally spoiled something, but I will do my best to be spoiler free to start with. So this book is a futuristic novel where Earth has, how do I describe it? Basically, it starts with, wow, I did not prepare. I should have written more notes. Hang on. Let me restart. Editing Alan, you're going to need to scrub that out. Okay. So when I started this book, I went in totally blind. I did not know the genre. I knew the title. I read the little dust jacket blurb here, which to me really does not capture the scope of the story. And then I knew that Evie had recommended it. So that was the extent of what I knew. But most people who pick up this book probably are aware that it is a work of science fiction. It is set in a future in which Earth has basically been abandoned because of environmental concerns. Earth becomes unlivable, and so people have innovated and found ways to live on other planets and on space ship station things and made their lives among the stars. And the part one is kind of a slow burn. It takes a little while to get the full picture because chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 all center on different characters. You have a different POV for each of those 3 chapters, all 3 of which are also pretty lengthy. I think the audiobook, each one was about an hour. And so it took me a little bit to get into it because I did not connect with any of those characters in those first 3 sections, those first 3 chapters. I just wasn't loving any of them. So it took me a little minute to figure out exactly what the focus of the book was because you're switching points of view every chapter in the very beginning. So it takes a minute to see how those stories actually relate and to really understand what the main focus of the story is going to be. While it did take me a minute to find them, I did encounter characters that I connected with and was rooting for and cared deeply about. So it did get there. It just took me a minute. And as I said, the setting was something that is not very familiar to me. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, to be honest. I don't have a problem with sci-fi. It's just not something I seek out a lot on my own. So space travel and the future in general. I don't read a ton of futuristic novels. I think my experience with generally futuristic novels, they're always really dystopian and often really disturbing and sad. And I will say that while disturbing may not Well, no, I don't know. Parts of this book were also maybe a little disturbing and sad, I will say. But there were also parts that were really beautiful. There was, in particular, a very short poem, a haiku actually, from the very second chapter that just stuck with me throughout the whole book. I kept thinking about it. It's not referenced really. The poem itself is not referenced again, but I just found it to be really beautiful. So that stuck out to me as something memorable that I want to carry with me. And then there were some moments towards the end that were also made me tear up and were I just was very emotionally invested in. So I am glad that I read it, but it was very outside of my comfort zone. So if you really enjoy sci-fi type stuff, and also if you really enjoy literature, so I would say this was not an easy read, but it was excellently crafted. You can tell that the author is very talented and it was a work of art. So if you are someone who can handle a little bit of grit and loves the artistry and the craft of really good writing, I think this book might be for you. I tend to, while I really do appreciate excellent writing, sometimes I shy away from the grit. And that's because of my personality. I am very sensitive and I can only engage with so much kind of the gut-wrenching or the macabre or just the dark or hopeless. I don't like to wrestle with the ugly side of humanity. I know it exists. I don't like to wrestle with it. So art that brings that into focus tends to not be my favorite. I do know there is a place for that, and I do occasionally engage with that in small doses. And to me, that is one thing that this book does. It brings some of the grit, some of the ugliness of humanity, of what we are capable of, as well as some of the extreme beauty and sacrifice and love that we are capable of. And it examines both. So the idea of found family, I would say, is also something really important in this book, a very important theme. And also the way that our choices affect us and how we are a product of the lives that we have lived and our experiences. So the choices that we have made shape us and shape our current choices and our future choices as well. This text explores all of that. So, if you like sci-fi, if you like literary fiction, if you love engaging with the gritty side of humanity, maybe The Vanished Birds is for you. If you do not like any of those things, or only some of those things, I would say talk to some people that have read it and decide if you want to give it a try. Simon Jimenez is absolutely an artist, and I think objectively that I would say this is a very well-written book that I can't really rate it. I don't think it would be fair for me to rate it because as far as if I enjoyed it or not, for me it was not a fun read, but it was a meaningful read. That's hard to kind of grade as far as, it's hard to rate as far as stars go. So maybe I would give it 3 on an enjoyment level and 4.5 or 4, somewhere in that range, on as far as quality. So let's talk spoilers just a little bit for anybody who has read this. I want to talk about why I did not connect with any of the characters to start with. So we'll go in chronological order that they are introduced. So first we meet Kada. And Kada is this He starts out as a young man who has been raised by his father to believe that he is destined for greatness, and he lives on a planet that basically exists to the people there. Their role is to harvest this one product, duba, and then basically the trade system, the ships will come, spaceships will come pick up the duba and distribute it out to different space stations and other places where people need a variety of food. So they have like shipment day where they bring in goods and take out goods. Kada, early on as a young boy, meets some of the off-worlders who are coming for shipment day, who travel on this spaceship, and he is just captivated with the spaceship and captivated with one particular member of the crew who winds up giving him a flute that she was playing, and he sat in the dark and watched her play it and just kind of was enraptured. So she ends up gifting him the flute. Over the years, as she returns, her experience with the space travel is that it's been a short amount of time, maybe 8 months or so. But his experience is that it's been 15 years. 15 years have elapsed between each shipment day. So she sees him a handful of times, and each time he's 15 years older. And they develop a relationship. And his fascination with the idea of this space travel and his infatuation with her causes him to miss out on a lot of the life that is his daily life, about what is around him and available to him regularly, not once every 15 years for one day. So for example, he does eventually get married. The text tells you that his wife will sometimes catch him basically daydreaming and ask, "Where are you?" And he says, "I'm here," but he's not really present. And I didn't like that. I got angry on behalf of his wife and adopted daughters that he was not a fully present father and husband, that he didn't really appreciate what he had. He always wanted something else. Basically his entire life, up until the very last shipment day, when he knows he's not going to see Nia, is the name of the traveler he kind of falls in love with. He's not going to see her again. And they have not spent enough time together for him to really truly love her. It's an infatuation. It's a puppy love. It's an obsession. But there's not depth, the same kind of depth there from a real relationship. So it just rubbed me the wrong way. Because how many of us have known a family unit where there was a parent figure who wasn't really present, who didn't actually delight in their family? And to me, that's tragic. That's sad. And I think children deserve to be delighted in and appreciated. And spouses deserve to be delighted in and appreciated. And he took it all for granted. And I am having a hard time forgiving him for that. He didn't do it to me, but it makes me angry. It just makes me angry. Because we've known those people. And it reaps a lot of damage. So, anyway, I didn't really like Kada. Then, chapter 2 focuses on Nia, who is the woman that he has been infatuated with all this time. And she's the captain of her ship. And she ends up taking in this boy who sort of crash landed on the planet where Kada lives. The boy does not speak. No one knows where he's from. And they end up taking him in for the purpose of bringing him back to their main hub, their space station, and sort of offloading him to basically let the government sort out who he belongs to and who he should be with. So in this process, we get to know her a little bit, and she connects with the boy. But even her connection with the boy in the beginning feels a little selfish to me. At first, she maybe kind of shrugs him off and wants him to be entertained elsewhere, but he just keeps kind of following her around. And eventually, I think she kind of likes feeling important. And she does mention, too, that feeling important to Kada and then leaving him is something that gave her some kind of satisfaction. I guess feeling that she had this power and influence over him where he cared more than she did. And that's not how she describes it, but that's my interpretation. I don't like that either. I don't like that. And I didn't like it when it involves this kid, this very vulnerable child who needs a place. However, she begins to see worth in him as an individual, as a person, and connect with him. She ends up, she had given Kada the flute. He gives it to the boy, and then she finds it and realizes what it is. And eventually, because the poor boy he's playing incessantly. He doesn't talk, but he plays music incessantly, and he's driving the crew bananas. So one of the crew members snaps the flute in half. Before that, though, Nia writes this haiku. And this is part of what really struck me. I loved the haiku itself, even though I did not really like Nia at first. She says, "The flute from the ka, cheaply made and out of tune, still plays." And I really loved that because I thought the point is not, the flute is not perfect, but it is bringing great joy to this little boy. And in a lot of ways, all of us are, we could point out our flaws, the ways that we are cheaply made or out of tune, or later on maybe even broken. But broken is not necessarily beyond repair, and there is a beauty and a worthiness in all of us. So I really liked that little haiku. It really spoke to me. Moving on, though. Then we meet Fumiko. She was probably my least favorite, actually. And poor Fumiko had a terrible childhood, horrible mother. People treated her unkindly, all kinds of horrible things. People treated her very unkindly because of her appearance. So anyway, you can't really blame her. But she falls in love with this woman, Dana. And then at the end of her chapter, she's this brilliant scientist, brilliant mind who is invited to work on I forget what they're called, but to work on basically the escape plan from Earth. She lives on old Earth. So this is sort of a flashback to her at first. And she's invited to work on this project, but she has to be completely isolated from friends and family, can't tell them where she's going, and cannot be in contact with them, and does not know how long this is going to last. So she chooses her work over Dana. Because also Dana was a very new relationship at the time. Maybe a month or a couple weeks, not long at all. So I kind of don't blame her because it would be a lot to throw away for the sake of a very new relationship that you don't know where it's going to go. So I get it. But she doesn't communicate this ahead of time with Dana, and she doesn't tell Dana goodbye in a proper manner. She just kind of sneaks away, and she seems almost incapable of building vulnerable, true bonds with people, which would not be surprising given her childhood. Her mother does not show any love for her, really, any true affection for her. She seems to treat her more as a tool that she uses. So I kind of get it, but but also Fumiko just seems to choose her ambitions over people over and over again, not just here but later on. And there may be some redeeming factors to her, but I don't know, man. So let me pause right there. I'll jump ahead later. That's why it took me so long to get invested in this book, because I didn't like either of those characters. Then as we get to know the boy and Nia becomes sort of a mother figure to him, Nia started to grow on me some, and then we meet Sartoris, and he is my favorite. So he is someone who gets enlisted. The whole crew gets enlisted by Fumiko to basically keep the boy away from the main system that is all controlled by this one company, Umbai. So Umbai owns the space stations that Fumiko actually designed. She signed on with them, and part of the contract was that her work, they owned it. So she designed these beautiful stations based on birds, because part of her experience as a child was the birds could not live on Earth anymore as it was getting more and more unstable and unlivable. So she goes to a bird sanctuary with her mother, gets to see some birds, and just is absolutely enraptured by this pelican who's kind of ugly until he stretches his wings and she sees just this potential and this beauty in this pelican. So that's a big moment for her that she's inspired by when she builds these space stations, and she sees that in people as well. She sees potential in people who are maybe a little beat up, rough around the edges, not very pretty people, but she sees their potential. Anyway, the problem is, though, that she signed this contract, so Umbai actually owns all of her work, and Umbai keeps kind of buying up these different planets that are resource planets that grow things like Duba, where Keita lives. The name of his planet is Mumbai 5, which I kept thinking Mambo number 5. But anyway, I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, so this company owns all her work. She wants to do some research on this boy because his strange circumstances showing up, having crash landed, remind her of another circumstance. She has suspicions that this boy may be able to travel through space on his own, no spaceship, just like teleport basically. And she wants to study him and learn from him, but she does not want this company to know. So she hires Nia, who Nia really is invested in just caring for the boy. So she wants to do whatever she can to be with the boy and protect the boy. So she accepts this contract, even though it is a up to 15-year contract, and she will have to relinquish the boy at the end of the contract. But she accepts it because she doesn't know what other choice she has at the moment to be able to supervise and care for him. So it's her and then a couple other crew members. Only one of them from her former crew sticks around, and the other 3 are handpicked by Fumiko. And you find out that Fumiko has been kind of adopting people along the way that they're her birds. She sees their potential, and maybe they have kind of a rough background, or they've had a falling out. She takes them under her wing and then kind of gives them projects. So that sounds very benevolent, doesn't it? Well, Sartorius is one of the people that works for her, and I just love him. He is basically an event planner. And in chapter 5, we get his journal. His whole point on the crew is to be her eyes and ears and to keep her in the loop of everything that's happening. The way he seems to do that is just writing in this journal, and apparently she can access this information somehow. I don't remember if they go over why that works, but apparently it does. but I don't remember if they went over that at all. I think she's just able to read it somehow. But anyway, I love Sartoris. he is. He actually reminds me a little bit of Byron from. He reminds me a little bit of Byron from the Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. So Byron is one of my favorite characters. Although I just love pretty much all of his characters, except maybe the Red Hand. But anyway, so he's takes himself kind of seriously, but you can tell he's also a people person, and he just loves people. And so even though the crew, they're a little standoffish at first because he is reporting straight directly to Fumiko, they kind of feel like, oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. But he's invested in them, and he values their personhood, even if they don't feel comfortable around him just yet. And he wants to be comfortable. He wants to get to know them. And he also, though, is a little melodramatic and makes some poor choices. And so I just love getting his journal. And it is so interesting to me just how dramatic he is with his description, his retelling of things that have happened to them. So in one of them, it's on page 165 in my book. I have a hard copy, hardback. But, he's writing his journal. This moment brought to mind the opening act of a play, the curtain drawn, as the principal actor steps onto the stage, and we, the hushed audience, waited for him to speak the first words of this recital. Enter the boy. Doesn't that just sound so melodramatic? Anyway, I love him. And there's some instances where he gets sick, and his journal is just kind of hilarious. Where he's like in fever dreams and doesn't know any longer what day it is. So it's, journal, unmarked date. The drink was a mistake. And the next day, unmarked date. He says, I will not die, but my body is on fire, and I cannot escape the fear that my heart might stop in this small room so far from home, where is undecipherable text. So, anyway, unmarked date. My old life is gone. My flowers are gone. All I have now are 15 years on this effing ship. I suppose I have you to thank for all of this. I just love him. So, he's my favorite. The middle chunk of this book, I really enjoyed. Because we're getting to know Sartoris. The boy is opening up to Nia. The crew are starting to gel. And the focus is on... the POV narrows a little bit. Though we still get a couple different perspectives, it's on this crew on this ship. And I did really enjoy that. Then, we get later on in the book, and just everything falls apart, and it's horrible and dark and disturbing and just terrible. So the first part is that the crew is betrayed. They figure out the boy can travel through space and time. He can teleport. And they find out that one of their crew members, who Fumiko had handpicked, sold them out to Umbai, the company. So Umbai shows up. They take the boy. And they consider him an asset, not a human being. And they open up his body and harvest his blood to take his space travel abilities and put it in their ships so that their ships can teleport. And this is horrible and disturbing, and Nia doesn't know exactly what's happened, but she knows that the boy has been taken. In the process, like, most of the crew dies. It's just Nia and Sartoris left, because the traitor shoots one of them, and then in the back, like maybe a couple times, and then the ship that's coming to pick up the boy sends a concussive blast that shakes their ship, but not gently, like super bad earthquake kind of shakes their ship. And so another one of them just is battered to death when that happens. And then one of the remaining ones, their ship is without power. They are stranded. They're losing oxygen. They're running out of oxygen. So one guy's in a coma. And then of the other two, Nia and the doctor commits suicide because he's like, we're dying. Then immediately after that, they finally get rescued. And Nia spends the rest of her life trying to get back to the boy. It's terrible. It's horrible. Like this is a horrible ending because you saw this kind of mother-son bond between them, which as a relatively new mother with a son, that is something that I was very emotionally invested in, and to have him ripped away and so horribly mistreated was very traumatic for me to read. As you can imagine, I'm sure. And as I'm sure it was traumatic for many of you who read it as well. Then Fumiko, you find out, while it sounds so benevolent that she's been kind of taking these people under her wing, Umbai comes to her little private kind of island that she's created. It's a planet, but it's this sort of space station she's built for her research to be kept private from this company. They come, they threaten to, they want to take her and take all of her research. And she says, no, leave, or I will blow the whole shebang up, including all of the people who live here. Women, children, like employees and their families. I will blow them all up. And it's like a lot of people who have all been really loyal to her. And while she cannot make good on her threat because one of them is like, excuse me, you cannot do that. He beans her over the head, knocks her out. Umbai comes in and they kill all the people anyway and make her watch. And she is affected by this, but she just like pushes on in this robotic manner, where she can't put all the bodies back in the rooms where they lived, but she finds they had little name tags. She finds all their name tags and collects those and puts those back in the rooms where they lived. And then she presses on and is like, I'm going to find a way to get power back to this place. She's completely stranded. She doesn't have a way to leave. She doesn't have a way to contact anybody. They sabotage the whole place so that she cannot continue her work. But I guess she, at some point, is able to work through her muddled brain because she's like 1,000 years old and has been they basically freeze her body to let her stay alive longer, and they wake her up when something interesting happens. So that has messed with her memory significantly, but she eventually remembers, oh, this is a failsafe that I had in play, so I will go find that explosive device that I was going to use to blow everything up. It can also be a power source. I'm going to dig it out with a pickaxe. So she's digging it out, hallucinating about Dana the whole time, and then the thing that just like cinched it in my brain, it was just like, oh my gosh, Fumiko, like, where's your compassion? Vela, the woman who betrayed the crew and gave the boy, his name's Aro. We finally find that out maybe halfway through the book, but she gave the boy to Umbai, which I don't fully understand why. Basically, she was in love with Fumiko, and Fumiko didn't feel the same way and sent her on this voyage, and she realized, wait a second, like, she doesn't care about me the way I care about her. I just want to be around her. I want to be with her. She's basically banished me, so I want to get her attention, and I'm going to do that by sabotaging her plan. So Vela wants to reunite with Fumiko. And Fumiko is able to send her a message. And Fumiko has been left with one gun with one bullet that was left as a mercy so that she could kill herself. Well, she uses Vela to get a spaceship there. Then she shoots Vela. Doesn't even like say hey or anything. She shoots her from behind and takes the spaceship. And Vela was the last remaining bird if you will, the last remaining person that Fumiko had taken under her wing, and provided for and given a purpose and seen potential in. This is the last one because the government, not the government really, but this company who also kind of acts like the government, has been systematically hunting them down and exterminating them. Anybody who would be loyal to her. And she takes care of the last one for them. Now, I get, Vela betrayed her, but what a sad way to go. Anyway, eventually, Nia and the boy are reunited through the power of music, which is beautiful. It is beautiful. So this is the other thing that really, really spoke to me. Nia had realized, and the boy had told her, one of the times that he jumped, he leapt and he wanted to get back, he heard her playing the flute that she had given him. And that song was what was able to kind of call him back to the ship and find the ship again. So she has the flute and she's playing incessantly because they did get the flute restored after it was broken. And it is revealed right at the very end. She's playing a song that Keita and folks would sing on Umbai 5, a homecoming song. And you find out it was a song that the boy was originally from Umbai 5. That when he was a baby, his mother would sing this song to him. And so even though he was too young to remember, it's just buried in the fabric of who he is. And so a lot of times when he's in danger or he's scared and he jumps to Umbai 5, that's why he kept landing there, because it was calling him home. And so she plays the song of homecoming, and that's how he's finally able to reconnect with her. He is in this drugged up state. His body is torn to pieces and emaciated and but something awakens back in the back of his mind, the song that his mother sang to him. And it pulls him back to his sort of adoptive mother, Nia. So anyway, I found that to be very beautiful and meaningful. And I bawled. Alan can attest. So anyway, there was a lot of grit in the book. More so than I am accustomed to. But there was also some deep, meaningful beauty. And I don't know that I'm going to read it for fun again anytime soon. Because it wasn't a light read, it wasn't a fun read, but it was a meaningful read. And if you read it too, I'm very curious to hear what stood out to you. What disturbing things keep you up at night? What, if any, meaningful things do you carry with you? What did you feel was the main message, the main theme, if you will? And who was your favorite character? I'm dying to know. And least favorite. I want to know least favorite too. I think my least favorite was Keita. Sorry. Anyway, so please drop all your thoughts in the comments below if you read this book. Or if you're worried about spoiling it for people who may not watch the whole video and haven't read the book yet, send me a message on Discord. Or if you're in Alan's Patreon, you can send me a message there as well. I don't remember how he closes out his videos. I think he says something about, as always, you can find Patreon and Discord information down below. I think he says something like that. Thanks for watching, and he'll see you next time.